Welcome to Deep Drinks Podcast, where the drinks are deep and the conversations are deeper. Welcome everyone to Deep Drinks Podcast, where the drinks are deep and the conversations are deeper. Tonight we have a fun episode. We have a good friend of mine, or a new friend of mine, I should say, but we've been getting on like a house on fire, called the SkepTick. So this is going to be a really good one. Before we jump into it, I want to make a couple of quick announcements because we have something happening tomorrow night, which is a bit special. So tomorrow night on Deep Drinks, two episodes of Deep Drinks in 1 week. I know this is some sort of utopia. I'm interviewing Anastasia Paraskevova, who is currently living in Kiev in Ukraine. She's been helping and volunteering there, and we're going to be raising money for her to keep doing what she's doing. She is on the front lines of the war. She literally, her father unfortunately passed away from a Russian missile on the balcony of his home. A tragic story, and she's been interviewed by news organizations, and she's appeared on CNN, or CNN has reported on her. So we're going to try to do everything we can to try and raise money to help her continue the volunteer work that she's doing. And then we also have this weekend we have the Problem of Evil with Michael Jones of Inspiring Philosophy. So this is going to be a good one as well. I can't wait to get the boxing gloves on with Michael over a glass of delicious scotch. Also, for everyone, you all probably know this, but Deep Drinks is also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everything. So if you like listening to the podcast, you can check it out on these platforms. So with all that said, I'd like to welcome our guest. So SkepTick is a badass British skeptic with a knack for creating very entertaining content. SkepTick wasn't always a skeptic and was once training to be a medium. SkepTick's goals is to make atheism and skepticism more accessible for a wider audience, and has been killing that mission with his YouTube channel growing to over 22,000 subscribers. So welcome, my friend, the SkepTick.
Peace. See you later. Thanks for having me. That was fun.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Like, we've been chatting back and forth a little bit, but it's good to actually sit down with you and have a beer and learn about your journey, because it's a wild one.
I'm not gonna lie, because it's so early in the morning for me. I do have. So I said, look, I drink Peroni, but it's still got the lid on because it's 15 minutes past 8, quarter past 8. So I'm drinking tea. I'm drinking a tea.
Like, that's all right. That's awesome. As long as you got it there in case you need it. That's the whole point. Yeah.
I might pretend to drink it every now and then, just so you've got like a screenshot for something. I don't know.
Yeah, just like,
you never know.
Yeah, you never know, for sure. Hello, Alla Junior. It's good to see you here. Hello, Mr. Bootleg. It's I have watched a couple of your videos, like a couple of your interviews. I've been watching your channel like crazy.
Right.
But I have to know, like, how, like, give us a rundown of your journey. Like,
okay.
How do you go from studying to be a medium?
Yeah.
Sorry, how did you even get to their first place? Let's start from the beginning.
Okay, the beginning. It's 1983, the 8th of May, and John is born. So I was born into I was baptized as a Christian, because back in the 80s, regardless of religious belief, kids were, in the UK at least, baptized into a church, because that was just the thing to do. Never went to church, other than with school, because that's what schools did. So I wasn't ever really brought up with any real religious belief. However, my grandmother on my mother's side she claimed to be a spiritualist medium. So I was surrounded by mediums. She had crystal balls everywhere, and she believed she could talk to dead people, and all she would talk about was afterlife and speaking to the dead and all this. And my mother kind of pushed me a little bit into doing that kind of thing, learning to speak to dead people. And when I was a kid, I would think that I could hear children playing outside my bedroom at midnight, which obviously wasn't happening.
Or if you were hearing that, it was more likely that there were children rather than.
Yes. Or I was hallucinating because I was in a dreamlike state at midnight. So those sorts of things. But and there was one time that I freaked out. I was at my grandmother's house where there's all this energy where she believes she can talk to dead people, so it's on everybody's mind that there are dead people around. So one day at my grand's house, I saw a person walk through my sister's bedroom door. I say through because the door was closed. He walked through the door, or at least that's what I believe. But again, it was in the middle of the night, and I was maybe sleepwalking or getting up in a kind of hazy state. And now I would just put it down to that. And the fact that you're surrounded by people who go, well, we believe in dead people and lots of spirits. They just go, well, that's obviously what you saw, John. Or at that time, Jonathan, because I'm, John's short for Jonathan. They didn't call me John. It took a long time to get them to start calling me that. Anyway, so I was surrounded by people who believed they could speak to dead people. And my gran always said to me, you've got the gift. You've got the gift, little Jonathan. You can do this. And my mother was so annoyed because she wanted to be able to do it, but my gran kept telling her, well, it skips a generation. Which, so apparently,
there's got to be some logically consistent.
Exactly. So it skips a generation. So you don't have it, daughter, but your son does. And I was the favorite grandchild out of 15. Even though my mother's the youngest of all of my grand's kids. I don't know how that worked out. But so my gran, I think because she saw something in me that I became the favorite grandchild, and she'd tell me about all these, how to speak to dead people. Anyway, years go past, lots of years. I probably started really looking into becoming a medium when I was in my 20s. Because when you're a teenager, all you can think about is girls. And if you're a cis het fella, you think about girls and boobs because you're teenagers and that's what you do. So I wasn't really concentrating on the whole speaking to dead people. But then I don't know if you had it over there, but in the UK we had a show called Most Haunted.
I don't think I've seen. Well, I'm sure I've seen something like that.
Okay, it's ghost hunting. But they televise it and they do live events and try and catch things on camera. It's the early 2000s and they're using technology.
It's a fun time.
Yeah, it was. And that's what reignited my love for the paranormal. I was like, okay, this is time I really start thinking seriously about becoming a medium. So I started buying books and looking online, even though at that time the internet was still becoming a really big thing. I mean, I know it was around in the 90s. But it was the 2000s where the internet really went, oh, we've got a website for absolutely everything. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go search how to become a paranormal activist or, not activist, but learn
how to become a paranormalactivist.com. Is this
there's probably something like that, maybe. If not, I'm going to buy it after this. And so, I started searching. I was also very outspoken in my early 20s about the lack of belief in a God. Because you don't have to believe in a deity to be a spiritualist. All you believe in is the afterlife. So I had the position I believe that something happens to you after you die, but I don't believe in an overlord or a being that looks after everything. I think you die and your spirit lives on and you get to go and annoy people and push things around, And here I am, I'm a ghost. Here's a little pencil moving,
So what would happen if Christian Dave, Captain Christian came to you and said, how do you explain the universe? Where do we come from? What would be your answer at that time?
I would have gone down the Big Bang, Big Bounce route.
Okay.
At the time, it was mostly because Big Bounce is a fairly new concept, from what I'm aware.
Well, I don't think it was, but it was probably getting popular.
You know what I mean. It's it's becoming big in society.
Yeah,
Well, whatever.
Oh yeah, those early 2000s when the Big Bang.
Yeah. It's
was
not
hot.
the Big Bang. It's the Big Bang. Got it. But anyway,
Big Bang was so hot back then.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But so I would go, well, duh. Obviously, science can explain that. It just can't explain what happens after you die. And that mentality was with me for ages. And I'd have friends who were full-on skeptics going, well, how can you not believe in this, but you believe in this? And I was like, well, duh, I've got the gift.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I've seen this show. There are mediums that go on TV. I've always wanted to be an actor. So I was like, I can combine the two. So that was my like drive. I could become a TV medium and go and prove that ghosts are real. And the more I researched and was like, how do I get to do this? And trying things out, nothing was working. And there was one day that was the turning point for me. I am a runner. I like to run. And I've been training for my first, maybe it was my second. No, it was my first 10K. It's not a very big distance. Now I breeze that. But I was like, I'm going to train and do a 10K. And all of my friends were joining in and we all trained together and we spend evenings running as fast and as far as we could. And a friend of mine, his name's Russ, and he was a very, very unhealthy man. Smoking all the time, drinking all the time, eating unhealthy stuff, up late every night. He was very overweight, and he started running and lost all of this weight, and he looked incredible. I mean, he looked incredible before, but he looked slim. You know what I mean? Because I don't have a body, but and we all did this race. And where I'm 6'2", got long legs, and I can bomb. I go fast. I finish the race, and about 30 minutes later, Russell comes running down, and about 100 meters from the end, falls over. And we're like, oh, that's a bit weird. So everybody runs up to check on him. It's not moving, not responding. And the St. John's ambulance. Do you have those fellas over? Maybe that's a Commonwealth thing, or the Red Cross. Not Red Cross. The health people that are on events like that. Put a heart rate monitor on his finger and like, there's no heart rate. What we're going to do is they start doing CPR. He died. Fuck. There and then.
Holy shit.
And I'm like, I've got the gift. I'm going to look for him. I'm going to just search around and just see, like, I'll tell Russ to go back in his body and it'll be okay. And I'm looking around and everybody's panicking and like pumping on his chest. A friend of mine is a police officer, but he's also medic trained. So he pushed these people out of the way because they weren't doing it right. And he starts taking over and giving Russ CPR. And he's there for like 7 minutes and just nothing's happening. The ambulance crew turn up and take Russ away. And the whole time I'm looking for Russ. I'm like, well, you know me. You can come out and I'll help you and I'll get you back in your body and all this and it'll be okay. Didn't see him. And that was the point where I went, there's something not right here. Fortunately, Russ is alive today. They got him resuscitated. I just wanted to leave you with that. I was like, I just wanted to see your face. That was terrible.
God. Next week on Deep Drinks, Russ.
Yeah, he's come back from the dead.
He's come back.
Anyway, so Russ is fine now. I mean, he's Russ, and he was dead for like 11. Maybe it wasn't 11 minutes, but it was almost 11 minutes or something. Technically dead. But they resuscitated him and he was in a coma for 2 or 3 weeks as like he was coming back. But that was the moment that I went, there's something fishy about all this. And it took something big like that for me to realize. And at that time, I'm in my...
Just quickly, did Russ have like a heart attack or what happened?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. He had a heart attack.
So it was like sudden cardiac arrest or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. We call him now the Berkshire Jesus, because that's where I'm from in the UK. Because he came back from the dead. And I've spoken to him plenty of times and said, what happened? Did you see anything? He's like, no, it just went dark. And then I woke up in a hospital.
Yeah.
So there was
Because his soul hadn't left his body yet, John.
that's why I didn't see him. Oh, suddenly I'm a believer again. Okay, that explains everything. But so it was at that moment. So after doing the research and going, no, there's something isn't quite right. That was the moment that I said no more to any supernatural belief. I'd been an atheist almost all of my life, but it was at that moment that I was like, I'm not going to be spiritual either because it's just a load of BS.
Right.
So, but it took a big thing to finally push me over and go, oh, okay, this is a load of rubbish.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Wow. So were you researching like the skepticism before that, or was it like?
Yeah. Not skepticism as such. I never really went down the skeptic route until probably like maybe 10 years ago. No, it'd be less than that. 7 years ago, I started going down like, how do you explain away all of this? Not explain away, but like, what are the alternatives to religious
magic
belief? To the supernatural. And that's when I discovered the ACA and started watching. I started really binge watching Atheist Experience and going, oh, these are really good arguments. And I'd have conversations on social media with people who were friends, and I would say something. There was a video from Chris Pratt. Was it Kids Choice Awards, or there was something like that? And he got an award, but he thanked God for the award. And I posted the clip. It's just saying how utterly disappointed I was that Chris Pratt, who's in a privileged position, is spouting off that there's a God, and people will go, oh, well, if Chris Pratt believes, I should probably believe too. And I was so peed off with that. And friends of mine were coming on and arguing for the existence of a God through that video. And I was going, this isn't, there's something not right here. Maybe more people should speak out against, God belief and say why it's not the best thing in the world. So that was the moment that I got spurred on. And that was like 7 or 8 years ago.
So it's actually funny that you mentioned that. Like last week I had, or 2 weeks ago, I had my wife on. We spoke about an IVF journey, and we had a friend invite us to a church because they had a prophecy that someone's family member had endometriosis and needed to get prayer, and they were going to get healed and have a baby, right? And we were told about this information because they thought it was Amy, and it was actually really conflicting, only because it brought me back into that old mindset. But what really set me free from that mindset is I realized that if that was the case, if God was going to show up, or something was going to happen, that next weekend, if we went to church to get prayer from this prophet that was coming, I didn't want it. I wanted God to use his power to save that little girl from being raped, to save that little boy from being beaten by his dad, to save that starving mother, to save like anything else. Like if he's got the power to do anything in the world, it's fine. We can go through the medical system. We can save up money. We can pay for IVF. Like, how dare? Like it paints God. I'm not saying God's a monster, but that the idea that Chris Pratt was like, thanking God for his award. It's like, whoa. God's given you awards, but he's not dealing with these starving children.
Right.
Like you're making God out to be a monster, like disgusting monster. And that's what Chris Pratt is saying. And he believes in God, what I mean? But it's like, that's the logical consequences of his belief.
Right. Exactly.
It's harsh, but it's true. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I've lost my train of thought now.
I do have some like little notes because of listening to stuff, but I want to just hop back into because I want to eventually get to the angry atheist edgelord days, right? Because I've been there, we all go there. But first, can we talk a little bit more about going to medium readings and conventions and stuff?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, okay.
It's so funny, and I've only done it probably 4 times in my entire life. However, one of those times was in a big, massive arena that had thousands and thousands of people there listening to one guy talk.
Right.
They're
And that's just the people. Imagine how many spirits are there as well.
Oh, I know, right?
Million.
You had to buy an extra seat. You had to buy 2 seats, one for you and one for your spirit person to come and join you. You didn't, but that would have been hilarious. Actually, there's got to be a market for that. Maybe I'll become a medium.
Like you get like a more anointed seat or something that gives the spirits there'd be a way to do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've been to some very strange church meetings, because it's kind of a church, and actually one of the very first ones I remember going to was in a church for a religion, but it wasn't talking about, it was like, we're gonna talk about dead people today.
Was it like were they like hiring out a hall or something?
Yes, but it was a church hall. But they were like, I don't thinking about it now, and this is literally, I've just realized this, the people who worked at that church probably wouldn't have been happy with like medium stuff going on.
Not. Yeah.
It's like devil's work.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
There's this local community center where I live, and anyone can hire it out.
Right.
And Hillsong Noosa has been hiring it out week in and week out. They've got a permanent sign there. It's like their little, like, it's essentially their church, right? So the Noosa Temple of Satan decided we're going to hire it out and do a seance there and stuff. And they charged everyone $6.66 to come in. And,
that's brilliant.
And, and all this stuff. And they actually had to shut down. They weren't allowed after the first one, because the people who went to Hillsong were causing so much trouble for the staff there. They were abusing them. They were like coming in and saying this is wrong. They were doing all this like stuff to make the secular people who are running this place problems. So it was a big hoo-ha. The guy's going through court now, and he might be on the podcast soon.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I love that. Well, so I've been to them, and have you ever seen any like medium stuff on TV, or are you aware of what goes on there?
Yeah, I kind of, and I've seen that episode of South Park where
that is what happens. It's exactly
the greatest.
Like that.
So tell it for everyone who doesn't know what actually happened. So it's like an arena.
Yeah, well, let's go for the small ones first. It's a church hall, and there are 4 or 5 chairs at the front with 4 or 5 different mediums, and they take it in turns to speak to dead people. They must take it out of them to make all this stuff up. So like they can't just keep going. Maybe that's amateur status, because further on I've got another story. But yeah, so when you're just first starting out being a medium, you've got all these old people sitting at the front, and they're about to say some stuff, and they'll go, I'm getting someone who died recently. And when I say recently, it's probably within the last 10 years. That's not recent, Sheila. But 10 years. And the name begins with an M or an N. Oh, my gran Nancy died last week. Oh, yeah, that's her. She's talking to me. And it's that kind of language. Wow. And at the time when you're in it and you're going, oh, I really can't wait for someone to come and speak to me. You go, that could be me, and you make it fit. And that's the thing. You're talking to people. All these mediums are talking to people who want to hear something about someone they love or loved. So it's a very easy thing to do, because you're just preying on people's emotions, essentially. And stepping back and watching that happen is disgusting, absolutely disgusting. But I remember that particular meeting, my mum got a message from someone, and my gran had died many years ago. My mum and my gran were very close, and my mum's sitting there, and this lady starts reeling off information. It was some weird aunt that she barely knew that was coming through. If anybody was going to come through and speak to my mother, do you not think it would be the person she was closest to? Do you not think it would be my gran who would want to pass on a message? So witnessing it at the time, I was like, that's so cool that you got a message. Why? I wonder if I'll get a message one day. So that's like the kind of small one. You just got 4 or 5 people sitting in front of like an audience of 30 or 40 people, and they'll just spout out random things, and someone will go, oh, that could be me. Give me more information. And they just make it fit. Now there's a guy a famous medium in the UK. I'm not in the UK anymore, by the way. I live in America. So I don't know if any of this stuff goes on because I don't have access to British TV anymore. But there was a guy called Dereck Acorah, and his name may be known over in the Commonwealth over there. He was the medium that people wanted to go and see, and he was doing a British tour, going around to all these huge venues. That's him. That's Dereck. He's from Liverpool. He's got I've got my spirit guide, Sam. Tell me, Sam. And he'll go through Sam, his spirit guide, who will give him the information. Well, Sam's telling me this, and just
why do they all look like him, Kenneth Copeland, all these like big time scammers have a certain look about them.
Listen, mate, he was my hero at one point. So don't speak negatively about him, please. He did a tour, and he went to I'm from the south of England. There's a big theatre called the Hexagon in Reading that I went to, and it holds thousands of people. And I went and joined and watched Dereck Acorah for 2 hours talking to dead people, and it was amazing. I loved every second of it. And at one point, he pointed up to where I was sitting and said, "I've got a message for you." And I looked at my then girlfriend, and I was like, "What?" And he started saying some stuff. And the bloody guy next to me goes, "That's for me." Oh, I was like, "Come on." Dereck Acorah almost had a message for me. And this guy...
You're this close.
I literally was touching shoulders with the guy who got a message. And Dereck's saying stuff to the guy, and the guy's like, "No, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right at all." And Dereck kept going on. And then somebody on the far bloody side of the theatre went, "No, that's my person." And Dereck just ignores me and the guy next to me and spins around and goes, "Yeah, that's right. Sam's telling me it's for you." And at the time, you're going, "Wow, how's he doing this?" Now I'm going, "Why the hell is he doing this?"
Yeah. It's like spiritual mirrors. It was bouncing the signal off. That's crazy.
I actually, just to stay on the medium stuff, my ex-wife, her sister was massively into going and getting readings. And there was a huge family falling out one day because I was probably still in my angry atheist stage at that point. No, I probably left it a long time before then. But I just for this one reason, I'd gone back into angry mode because I thought it was bloody ridiculous. I had a 2-hour conversation with my ex-sister-in-law about why it was ridiculous that she was paying £100 to go and see someone just to tell her what she wanted to hear. That's the mentality over there. Yes, the UK isn't very religious, but a lot of people believe in ghosts, and a lot of people believe in spirits. Which is exactly where I was. I didn't believe in a god, but I did believe in the afterlife for a long time.
It's funny that you can probably trace that, like, because like, when we were over in the UK, but mainly when we're in Edinburgh, there's so many like ghost tours and stories of fairies and like Celtic folklore and stuff like that. I wonder if that's just all part of, like, if you grew up in Thailand, you're probably a Buddhist, right?
Right.
If you grew up in the UK, you're probably some sort of a Christian with a little bit of paranormal stuff in there somewhere, Yeah, that's interesting.
Although I do think, I don't think many people are Christian in the UK anymore. I really do think that it's more and more non-affiliated to any religion. You might have some who like me believe in an afterlife, but that's it. When it comes to an actual religion, barely anybody goes to church over there anymore, which is great.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
Well, I think in Australia we just had I can't remember the number exactly, but Christianity has just dropped below 50%.
Wow.
And in the last, I think it's atheism has doubled in the last 10 years. So
wow.
So it's been going crazy. I think it has to do with the 2020 2017 or 18 census with the same-sex marriage plebiscite, because the Christians really pissed off a lot of people with that. I think, like, they were just they somehow thought that other people getting married was persecution on them. Like they thought
Right.
somehow,
Oh God.
yeah.
Right.
And it was like, I think people who were maybe on the fence or grew up religious, they saw what the church was doing and they were like, this is ridiculous. Why can't these people just like, it either made people more extreme or
right.
like, jump off the fence.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, and so I don't know if my dad is religious. I know that my mother is still, and I haven't spoken to my mother in nearly 15 years, but she was.
Oh, really?
There's, I'd had
Drama.
enough. Yeah, lots of drama. My mother was a serial adulterer, and so I just decided to step away from that.
Yeah.
Hopefully she sees this and realizes just how messed up she is. I don't think she will. So yeah, she probably is still a massive believer in the spiritual world, and I think my dad is to some degree. He doesn't go to church. I don't think he's ever been to church, but he was a military man, so there was always that slight affiliation with some god because of the Queen and whatnot. No longer. Love her soul. Yeah, right.
So you had that moment with Russ where you thought something was going up here, but how did you go from that to, like, that was a moment for you, but how did you eventually go, I don't believe in the supernatural or the paranormal anymore?
Well, that was the moment where I went, this is just ridiculous. If anybody was going to have seen Russ, it would have been me, because we're friends and I've got the gift. That's when I really went deep into the ACA and YouTube. I've been a YouTuber I started a YouTube channel back in 2011. And I did a daily vlog because everyone was doing it back then. And I got at the time, 7,000 subscribers. So I was on YouTube. I was doing stuff on YouTube. And so I would just watch videos on atheism because I wanted to get as much info in as possible, because I was having more conversations with people at that point about God. I worked in a media company, and three of the people there were religious, and it would come up in conversation. And my brains aren't very good. I am not the smartest person, so I really panic if conversations come up where I have to have facts and things to say, well, I don't believe that because this. And I didn't really know exactly why I didn't believe. So that's why I started deep diving into content to go, okay, this argument makes sense to me, and I could probably articulate that in this way. So it was around probably 2 years after Russ, and I'm trying to remember exactly what year that was. Maybe it was 2012 or 2013. It was 2014 when I really started diving into it, because I lost loads of. I was 220 pounds. I don't know what that is in kilos. I'm in America now, so 220 pounds. But I went down to 185 pounds through running. So I know that it was around 2013 because I was playing Danny in Greece, and so I wanted to lose all the weight for it. And then the following year was when Russ passed away. So 2014, I'm consuming, watching ACA videos, and trying to get good arguments and learn about how to refute it. And that's when when the Dunning-Kruger effect, when you get your first peek, and I'm like, oh, I know everything now. I start going and talking to people, and they start giving me more rebuttals, and I'm going, oh, wait a minute, no, I don't know that. Okay, I'm gonna have to go and do some more research. And then I found myself going back down, but feeling more confident eventually in the little loop of the Dunning-Kruger. You know what I mean. We all do it.
Did you ever watch that 4.5 hour mashup of Matt Dillahunty, the best of Matt Dillahunty?
No, I should.
I watched it back in the day, in my edgelord atheist days, I call them. I just watched that over and over again.
Right.
I would just be playing StarCraft 2, and I'd be drinking some whiskey and listening to that in the background. It was great. Yeah.
Nice. Well, so with running is great because you get to listen to stuff whilst you're running. And I would put on a podcast whilst running, because I'd go out for an hour at a time just to go and blow off some cobwebs. And I put on old episodes of the Atheist Experience that I hadn't heard. And I'd be running along and somebody would call and they'd say something, and I'd go, I'd shout the answer out whilst running because I got my headphones in. People probably thought I was mad because I'd just be shouting some like answer to an argument. And then Matt Dillahunty would say something
Appeal to
very
nature
similar.
fallacy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And Matt Dillahunty would say essentially what I said, just in a more articulate way. And I'd just stop and go, I just got that right. I just said it like Matt Dillahunty. And I just started feeling more and more confident with how to speak to people.
And it's all come around because now you've been on the ACA. You've been on one of their shows, right?
I've been on Truth Wanted twice. And I'm actually going on again on the 4th of November.
That's so cool.
Next one. So yeah, that's exciting times that I'm getting sort of pulled back in. But so 2014 was when I started deep diving in, but I didn't actually start making content on this until last year. So March 2021 was my first atheist-inspired video, and lack of belief video. And I think actually maybe it was a flat Earth one. I can't remember. I did 8 videos that she was my fiance at the time, but my now wife. I was talking to her saying, I really want to get back into YouTube when I come over because I'm not going to be allowed to work when I get to America, so I'm going to have to do something that's going to take up a lot of time. My old channel, I tried to revitalize and give it some new life, but nothing was working. I had 7,000 subscribers, but I was getting maybe 100 views a video. So it was like, well, that something's not working here. And I really studied the analytics of YouTube and how to make videos work and all this. And I kept applying it to my channel and it just wasn't doing anything. So I said to my now wife, I'm going to start a new channel. It's going to be about this. She's fortunately, yes, she's a Kentuckian, but she is a non-believer. So it didn't, she's like, yeah, go for it. Give it a go. See what happens. And so I wrote 8 videos, recorded, edited 8 videos, and then set them up for an 8-week release. So a weekly release over 8 weeks. And my first video got like 3 views. I was like, wow, I haven't pushed this anywhere. That's amazing. And then the next one got like 20 views, and then it just kept going and going. It's like, oh, people like the God stuff more than they like the flat Earth stuff. So I'll stick with that. And it was a test at that time. And so I started really looking into what people like to watch as non-believers in a deity. And I started making content on that. And I mean, then it just started going crazy. After it took 9 months to get my first 1,000 subscribers, but then it just went. And your content, like I've been on YouTube for I don't know, like I started a few little channels here and there. I had a game development channel where I'd make, I would show people how to make indie games, and I got like 7,000 subscribers with that, which was cool. Right. But I wanted to join the conversation, and I've been like making videos for like around skepticism stuff, and I've been making videos for like I don't know when. I think it might be coming up to 2 years now. Right. I've got nowhere near your numbers. I'm not even 1,000 yet. However, when I went and watched your content, I was like, oh, I get it. Be entertaining. Your content is like I tend to have this problem I notice where I want to show people behind the curtain all the time, into my thought process, into like everything, right? It's all I'm almost it's almost like an exchange with the viewer, right? Where I notice with you're presenting something, you're showing the world, you're like, this is you're it's like, well, I'm putting on a show. And I really learned a lot from your content. Just cool. I haven't implemented it yet, but I've been looking and going, wow, that's really cool. There's two kind of there's 3 audiences on YouTube that I've found. There's the people who like to watch a show. Nick's here. The people who like to watch content, people who like to watch short form content, and people who like to sit and just listen to people talk, which they're the live video audience. But then the people who want to watch a show and just want to click on a video and have something to watch are the ones that I'm aiming for, because they're the ones that will consume content. But if you've got someone who watches a live video, live videos are great because you get to really know a person. But live videos are never 20 minutes. Live videos are always an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And it's a lot to commit to. So you're not going to watch 3 or 4 live videos one after the other. Whereas
I'll just share my screen just to show, and this is not interesting to anyone. But if you look at my content, it's like, let's just go to videos. I've got like 100 videos, but it's like, spicy content, short content, a clip from Deep Drinks. Then there's like a long ass debate somewhere in here, like a 2.5 hour debate with Muslims. Like, it's just all the branding's confused.
Right.
It's like no one knows what they're going to get. So I know the problems are there. I just haven't changed them yet.
Yeah, no, and you don't have to be, because I don't feel like I'm that entertaining. I just like putting out content, and I try and stick to like a format. And that's what YouTube likes. It just wants consistency. So put out a video the same time every week or every 2 days or however often you do it, and put out the same kind of content whenever you put that content out. So you do a live, but do a live on a set day every week. Do a short on the same day every week. Do an edited video on the same day every week. Give YouTube the same stuff each time to push out to its audience, because if you're constantly jumping around, it doesn't know what audience to send your stuff to. Because if you're posting every Friday, you do an edited video, but then on the following like 3 Fridays down the line, you go, I'm going to do a live this time, because it's a different type of video. YouTube's going to go, that's not the video that your audience usually likes, so I don't know what to do with this, and it'll just freeze. And that's all I've learned.
That's what I actually pushed Deep Drinks to its own channel because of that, because the branding was confused. And it's doing a lot better. And in fact, for those who don't know, you see a little bar down the bottom. When we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to do like a long ass charity stream, and we're going to be raising money to give to some charity. So that's going to be really cool. And we've actually gone, like, let me show everyone. I went on to Nuria Khan, Holy Humanists channel the other day. So we went from this to this. So we actually went up like a good amount of subscribers to a good amount of the goal towards the goal. So it's pretty happy with that, and it's gonna be awesome when we actually finally get there. Then I can start monetizing, and people can send in super chats and stuff. But it's a cool little community.
I saw that you had Tom Jump on your stuff, and that's how he makes a living, is doing live streams. I met him at the atheist convention, American Atheist Convention, down in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, back in March or April this year. So he's a really nice guy. He's cool.
Yeah, like Tom. He's cool dude. We had like a good discussion on morals, and we both like, we disagree with each other. He's way more educated than I am, but it was an interesting conversation. But back on your journey. No, I took us off.
I jump all over the place as well. That's why I script all my videos.
So becoming an atheist. I know that you mentioned like earlier that on another stream that you were christened growing up. So did you ever have a belief in God, or was it or did you never really have a belief?
I never really. I mean, we were taught about it at school, but I was always like, that doesn't sound right to me. There were times in hardship that I would. And I say hardship. What's a hardship when you're 12 years old?
I know what you mean.
Am I going to get that football one day? I don't know. But so I have in the past clasped my hands together and said things out loud, but to myself, to try and get some kind of answers. Was I praying to a God? I don't know. I kind of believed in more of the afterlife and spirits and whatnot. So maybe I was like appealing to some ghosts. When my gran passed away, I spoke to her a lot, but when I was by myself to try and get some kind of answers. Never heard anything. So I don't think I ever really believed in a God as such, but I believe that there was something there, but I think it was more down the spirit route.
Is there sorry, Dr. Josh has jumped in here. I haven't read this, but I know it's going to be
he's so handsome as well. I met him in June.
I have to be honest with you at Deep Drinks Podcast. Neither of you atheists can be taken seriously. You can't ground your ultimate instantiation of the necessary preconditions providing for logic. He jumps in every stream and says that same thing almost every time. It's amazing.
Well, do you know what? It's my wife's birthday's coming up, and I promised her that I'd buy Dr. Josh's book. But after that, it's not happening.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
There you go. How do you feel now, Josh?
You should get Dr. Josh to sign it and
He-
write
well,
something sassy. Because
that's
he
true.
told me I was a bitch, so that was great.
That sounds legitimate. Okay, got it.
And I was like, yes. And Megan signed it as well and said, you're not bad for a Kiwi, which is insulting.
I know.
The most insulting thing I've ever heard, because I'm not a Kiwi.
No.
And I thought she actually made a mistake, but she's like, I know. But she was just doing this like
That's
8D
funny.
chess troll thing. It was amazing.
You know, I'm quarter Kiwi.
Oh, my condolences.
I know. That's exactly what happens every time I tell someone from Australia.
New Zealand is Australia's Canada.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
like it's got all the beautiful mountains, and it's like,
Yeah.
they talk a little funny, like
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Fashion chaps. That's all they.
yeah, exactly.
But so
Cosmic Kyle.
Oh, Cosmic Kyle's
here. It's great to see.
It's like a
Everyone
little
will be waking up in America, which is
yeah,
cool.
right. But I mean, it's 9:00 Eastern now, so come on. Where have you been?
Get up, peeps. Notice how the atheists dodged by obfuscating the prevaricating on my clear and circumspect question.
Don't use words like that with a big dum-dum. Sorry.
I can't even pronounce them.
There you go.
So I want to start a segment called Why the Paranormal is Bullshit.
Okay.
Why the Paranormal is BS. And I want you to tell me why. Like, let's say,
okay.
Yeah, why is the paranormal BS? Or did you okay, let's start with this. Did you find, I'm sure there is, but have you found any stories that you can't explain?
I haven't. People have stories that they can't explain. So now I live in America, and I live in Bible Belt America. But here, they also really believe in ghosts, which is bizarre to me, because from what I understand in the Bible, that's all.
Yeah.
And I don't understand the Bible because I was never religious, so I don't really understand what it says in there. But my wife does, and she says things to me, and I'm like, oh, that's really interesting, and then I forget because my brain. But so I like ghosts and stuff. That's not a good thing, really, in the Bible, right?
Well, it's not like it has like things in the Bible where it's like, it says like, it's an abomination to talk to the dead or try to talk to the dead. Yeah,
sure.
But it's like, so some Christians go, well, so there must be a way to talk to the dead.
Oh, okay.
Saying that, yeah. So, but I don't know. Like, it's like the ghost thing doesn't make any sense in the whole cosmology of Christianity to me.
Exactly. And so, like, people getting excited that there are ghosts in a building when they're also very devoutly religious. It kind of it doesn't quite sit right with me. But anyway, I work in a theatre part-time in the town that I'm in, and it's apparently haunted.
Okay.
I say apparently because I've never witnessed anything. And let's just go back a little bit. I used to be absolutely terrified of the dark because I believed that there were people in the dark waiting to jump out at me.
Ted Bundy's just in the corner watching you and touching himself.
Yeah. Wow. Probably is touching himself. Not made up worse. Yeah. So I hear stories all the time about this theatre and how there's a lady called Loretta who walks around. And there was one guy, and he said, I was in the theatre by myself, and I was under the stage. We have the green room under the stage. And he said, and I could hear someone walking across the stage. And I went upstairs, no one there. The doors are locked, there's no one there. And I go back down, and I hear it again. Tap, 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 tap. Go back up, and I start shouting at whoever's there to stop because it's getting on my nerves. And he said, and it happened 3 times. I went up there. There's nobody in the theatre. How do you explain that? I mean, it is a very old building, and wood does warp under certain temperatures, and it does creak. And I've walked up the steps in that theatre, and then about 2 seconds after I'm at the top of some steps, the steps start sounding like someone's walking up them. But that's just the wood repositioning itself, getting back to where it naturally sits. You can explain away things.
or it's like, why did you land on ghosts and not, teleporting Obama, who actually is like a cyborg who can teleport and walk around stages? Like, why is one more believable than the other?
Sure.
Like, you can fit in.
Why wasn't it a flea wearing some Timberland boots jumping? And that's what you heard. There's so many possibilities.
Cosmic Kyle brought up a really good point. He said, you know why you couldn't see a ghost? It is if it is by definition. Oh my gosh, definitionally supernatural, because light particles would have to be able to interact with it, and they only interact with nature, baronic matter. Yeah.
Well, then explain away the person that walked through my sister's door. Oh, you can. Yeah. It was an hallucination. And what I love is that when people think of hallucinations, they go, oh, you just see something. But there are so many different types of hallucination. It's not all about seeing something. You can hear. Is it clairaudient?
Most are audible.
Yeah, audible hallucinations. There's scent hallucinations. You can smell things, and people can sometimes think they're smelling cigarette smoke when they're not. And isn't it 5?
Isn't smelling like almonds or something a sign of like
stroke or something? Yeah. So
I wonder if there's a supernatural component to that. Like it's well, the thing that used to always bother me is I used to go speak to a pastor about my mental health issues, and I'd be like, I'm having panic attacks every night, blah, blah, blah. And they'd always say stuff like, I was having bad panic attacks, like I was vomiting in the garden most nights.
Oh wow.
But it was real bad. And they would say to me, well, what you're going through is probably like 50% physical and 50% spiritual. And I'm like, where's the line?
What?
Like, what does that mean? And I was like, why can a psychologist fix both? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Ridiculous.
Anyway.
Oh, wow. So, I like to just sit and listen when people tell me stories now about the supernatural. I'd go, oh, okay. And then in my brain,
you passed your edgelord atheist days.
Oh yeah, by far. I just smile and nod. Yeah, go. Oh,
yeah,
that's really interesting. Yeah, because I understand why people need to believe things, because it makes them feel better. They don't always admit that that's the reason, but I absolutely fine as long as it doesn't impact me in any way or my family or the people that I love. You believe what you want. However, there are some things that do affect me and my family. With your beliefs, so that's when I start speaking out. But when it comes to a ghost walking across a stage, I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds really that is interesting. I'm still not a believer. But
what was it doing too?
Yeah, right. Where was it going? What? Oh, it forgot a screwdriver on the other side of the stage that it couldn't pick up, so it went back again and went, oh no, maybe I can pick it up this time, and walks back over 3 times. I don't know.
Do you guys I doubt it was ever broadcast anywhere where you've ever lived, but have you ever seen Round the Twist?
Yeah. Round
the
Twist. Yeah. I used to love that as a kid.
Yeah, that's great. It's actually we actually went to a friend of mine and I were driving down near Melbourne, and we were like, oh, there's the lighthouse, and we went in. We saw we went up right to the top and stuff. It was really cool.
Right.
It was. I love that show. I grew up on that. I did want to mention. So just to keep talking about this stuff, but there was. Have you heard? I'm sure you know of the James Randi Foundation.
Yeah. He offers it. Is it $1 million for someone that can prove?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He did until 2015, and he's passed on since then. But but it's just for people who didn't know. James Randi was a skeptic and a magician. He started as a magician, and then he started noticing that people believed the stuff he was doing was supernatural. So he started I think he did some stuff where he faked like a paranormal person, and they did a tour and all this stuff, and everyone believed it. And then it showed on live TV, hey, this was all fake. I'm not really a medium. But he had this foundation or this challenge called the $1 Million Paranormal Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And it was offered by the James Randi Educational Foundation to pay $1 million to anyone who could demonstrate supernatural or paranormal abilities under agreed upon scientific testing criteria. So that's a big point. It wasn't just like James Randi saying, this is you got to you've got to levitate above my head or something. He had they both had to agree on the test, and many did. Mm-hmm. A version of the challenge was issued in 1964. Over 1,000 people applied to take it, but none were successful. The challenge was terminated in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch videos. You can see the test being performed. But remember, both James Randi and the person who said they could talk to the dead, or they could they were
turn
magnetic,
pages in a book, or
turn pages in a book, anything.
Yeah,
they both agreed on the testing conditions, and every single time they failed. To me, that was mind blowing. And I wonder if you have any thoughts on that. Like, if you were to go back into your old state of mind, what would you say to like kind of counteract that as someone who believed in mediums and stuff?
I mean, there is no way you can prove it. When you're a believer that you get to speak to dead people, it is all up here, and there's nothing that you can prove. There's no way to demonstrate that. There's no way to win $1 million by saying I can speak to dead people, unless you got it absolutely dead on the money. If you were speaking to someone and they get relayed information, but I don't understand. I don't see how anybody could prove that.
What would you say though if someone said, well, the supernatural and the paranormal has been tested?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, what would you say to that person who says it's been tested and they can't prove it? What would be how does a medium...
I see. As a medium, sorry, I see. Yeah, from the other side. I mean, you just have to go, well, some people have the gift and some people don't. That would be the mentality. Yeah, I mean, they
offered it to some of the biggest people ever, and they said stuff like, I'll get back to you, and never did, or
right. There's nothing you could say to it. There's no way that, like, if someone said, oh, well, they've tested the paranormal, you believe you can talk to dead people, but they've tested that and there's no proof that it's real. You'd be like, well, you just kind of gotta believe that you can. There is no way to prove it.
So do you think that the people up at these top levels, do you think they believe what they're doing is actually true?
Real, or yeah. Now that's a good question, because knowing what I know, I feel like they are playing the game and they know darn well that they aren't really speaking to dead people, and they're fleecing people for all the money that they can. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. I believed that I could hear things when I was younger. I really genuinely believed that I heard people shouting for help. At one time, I had a message from my grandmother for my mother. And I told her that my gran had come to me and told me this. And I genuinely believed that happened at the time. But I wouldn't have any way to demonstrate it. The only reason my mother accepted it was because she was in the mindset that it was real. So going to someone who said this isn't real, I mean, I don't know how you'd convince them, other than saying it's only a problem when they speak back. Sometimes they do. I don't know how you just, at the time I would have just said, well, you're just not open to it, or you're not, you don't believe enough. What a stupid thing to say. There's no way you can demonstrate any of this, and it really annoys me that people do believe it. I mean, good on them if it makes you feel happy, but it's a stupid thing to believe in.
There must be like some form. You see, I don't know if I think they're all scammers. I think some of them, they must
genuinely believe
bullshit. Yeah, because I just can't. To me, it's having someone who believes their own, bullshit and whatever. And they make cognitive dissonance. They just push it away and they just move on.
Yeah.
And they don't understand logical thought process or anything, and they just go off gut feeling and stuff, and they just ignore the stuff that doesn't fit and accept things that do. I think that's easier to explain than like people being that evil that they would take, or that horrible that they would like scam people for all they've got. Like, yeah, I don't know. Unless someone's like said to themselves, like, well, this is just entertainment and I'm just providing entertainment. Maybe that's like something that they think.
Yeah, there's got to be some way of explaining it away and making it okay. Well, there was I did on Truth Wanted a few weeks ago. There was a guy who had a ghost hunting app, and he
Oh, yeah.
called in to say that he admitted that it was all made up. It's a random word generator, but he makes a killing from it because people pay to have this random word generator and treat it as a ghost app. And he said, I make money from people who through their stupidity.
That's giving me idea. I know how to build apps. I reckon I could build a pretty sweet. We should build one together.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
And then like there's a little message like that if they actually like paid attention and read the fine print, it's like this is all bullshit. Like don't waste your money.
Well, we Dan and I said to him, you know, do you say anywhere on the app that it's for entertainment purposes? And he said, yep. It says it's just purely for entertainment purposes. But people they just skip over that and pay for it anyway and treat it as though it does actually work. I downloaded a few the other week and just tried them out. They're hilarious. There's one that's called it's got like a tracker and it scans for dead people near you. So I was like, oh great, let's try that out. And it started scanning and it said 12.9 meters away, and it gave an arrow, and I was like, oh, that's outside. Yeah, that fits. There's obviously no ghosts in the house. And it said so 12.9 meters away. Remember that. And it gives like what the spirit's feeling. So my phone, 12.9 meters away, could pick up the emotion of a dead person. Hilarious. And then through that emotion that the ghost is feeling, it generates like 5 random words that could make a sentence. It's like, okay, great. That first go, 12.9 meters away. Let's try it again. Boop. 9.2 meters away in the opposite direction, still outside, so it's still legit. But I was like, well, surely if this thing is going to scan for ghosts nearby, it's going to pick up the one that's 9.2 meters away rather than the one that's 12.9 meters away first. So what a load into... maybe it was like 15 meters away when I scanned for the first one.
A big thing that I've noticed is people who don't understand technology get like really, like I have family members who used to get angry at Facebook because it would say like, good morning, today it's 24 degrees. I'm like, oh, how do they know that? And it's like, it's really simple. Like it knows your location because of like, it's not like there's not someone looking. Bill Gates isn't watching you through your camera. Like there's like, you know, or you know, and that's fair enough. Like, you know, some people just don't know tech, but there's another one. I had a friend of mine who said, he goes to me, like I was arguing with him about the Illuminati, and he goes, oh, you don't think the Illuminati is real? Explain this. He's like, type in the illuminatibackwards.com. And so I typed in Illuminati, and it goes to the CIA like homepage. And I'm like, of
course it does.
What?
That's very easy to do.
I'm like, dude,
it's just a redirect.
This is just a redirect. Like, and why would the Illuminati do this? Like, let's just type it in backwards and it'll bring you to the homepage of this. Why? Like, it was beyond, but it was just like he thought that was a slam dunk, and it was and it was like, wow, like, and so I wonder how much more that happens to people, and myself even. I have you? Sorry, this is just a random aside. No, do you get seriously paranoid that your current worldview is like as wrong as it was back when you believed in mediums and stuff like that?
No, because I just don't care.
Oh, okay.
I'm at that stage. I'm like, I really don't care if I'm right or wrong. I just like having the conversations. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to go to a heaven or a hell because I don't believe either of them are real. I think when I'm dead, I'm dead. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't really care about anything else now. Yeah,
that's good. That's a good point. I think for a long time I was like terrified because I would have killed for God. I would have I would have done anything. I would have died for God. Like there was nothing I wouldn't have done. Like I would have done anything that I felt God was calling me to do. And like, I was so convinced of my beliefs. Someone held a gun on my head, I would have easily taken the bullet, right?
Wow. Okay.
And said, denounce Jesus. I would have like, yep, no way, like pull the trigger.
Sure.
And now I don't believe it. So it's like, damn, if I believe that, like, I mean, people believe in their religion so much they fly planes into buildings, not to be grim. But like, people believe stuff, and it's like, damn, like, what if what I believe now is just so inaccurate? And then I eventually find out, Buddha was real or something, and I'm like,
sure.
Like, well, he was real, but he wasn't.
Well, yeah. But he wasn't a deity. I mean, if somebody came to me with irrefutable proof of some kind of God or spirit or something, I'd accept what they had to say. I'd still do my own research into it. Would I do what that thing said? It depends on what it's asking for, or like what its background was. If it was a Christian god that are turned up, would I worship it? No, not a chance. You can demonstrate it's real. Well, no, I wouldn't follow it because of the atrocities that it spoke for. If somebody demonstrated that ghosts were real and spirit guides and all this was a real thing, I'd go, okay, happy to admit I was wrong. But there's nobody that, well, not as far as I'm aware, there's nobody that goes around killing people in the name of Sam the spirit guide. You know? Maybe there are people. Maybe there are people who go, well, a dead person just said, go and punch the mayor of this town in the face. Be like, oh, that's a stupid, you know, that sort of thing doesn't happen, I don't think, with the spiritualist world. There are peaceful people. They don't need to fly planes into buildings or gas millions of people. You know, let's just go, when you die, your spirit lives on. Great. You know?
Yeah. There's Nidima said, you just got to snip your dick, Yahweh.
Yeah, right.
And Michael Granado asked, because it's spooky season, what's the most convincing ghost story you have heard?
Oh, that's a good one. None, because I don't believe any of them. I mean, I still get, and this is just like a leftover from the time that I did believe. There's every now and then I will have a moment where the hairs on the back of my neck will stand up when I think about something. And so, there's supposed to be a woman in black. There's always a woman in black who walks past one of the doorways in the theater. And I work there. I've got my own key. I'm quite often one of the last people in the building, turning off all the lights. And every now and then I'll think about this lady who walks past the doorway, and my hairs will just go, do I still believe it? No. I know that it can't be explained supernaturally, and there's probably some weird natural explanation as to why someone believed they saw a shadow walk past a doorway. Light flickers. I've got a bulb in one of my bathrooms that you turn the light off, and about a minute later it just goes, "You forgot about me," and then that's it. You know?
Yeah, I always say, "Oh, poltergeist!" every time that happens. There
you go. There you go. And it's just a little bad connection in the wiring or something. So
it's funny how you can fix supernatural things with new electrical equipment.
Right.
There's I have the same thing when I read the Bible sometimes, or even the Quran, or the Bhagavad Gita, like a holy text. I get these, especially the Bible, because I grew up with that. But I get these like warm feelings. These like, oh, this presence, you know. Yeah. But I just don't attach a truth value to that. I also feel things when I go to a rock concert, or I feel things when
or someone sings the perfect note in a show, and you're like, oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I want to jump onto the Q&A, but before we jumped, I got a few questions for you. But before we do that, you did mention something in the pre-chat about we're talking about babies and stuff, and I was wondering if you could kind of like touch base on that a little bit, so we could have a bit of a discussion, because you mentioned it was important to talk about.
Yeah, so my wife and I have been trying for babies because we want to bring more atheists into the world. So that we feel like it's only right to procreate. I live in America now. Healthcare here is abominable. It's disgusting. There are laws where people don't have rights over their own bodies when it comes to medical treatment. So we were trying for a baby, and we suffered an ectopic pregnancy, which is, I say I was just observing it. My poor wife, had to like suffer through all this stuff. The cells were growing. They hadn't quite made it to the uterus, and they were growing in her fallopian tube, which is dangerous, because if that cell clump grows too big, the fallopian tube will expand, rupture, bleeding ensues, and the mother dies. And in this country, if you get to a certain stage in your pregnancy, you're not allowed to have treatment for it, because it's killing a baby. And the woman doesn't have any say over what she gets to do with her body. So we learned of our ectopic pregnancy 5 weeks and 4 days into our pregnancy. The law in Kentucky, which is the state that I live in, is after 6 weeks, you're not allowed to get an abortion, regardless of whether you need to have it medically or if it's just a personal choice that you accidentally got pregnant and you don't consent to having a fetus growing inside you. If we were 3 days later, we would have had to have found a whole different state that would have allowed medical treatment for my wife's ectopic pregnancy, which is absolutely disgusting. Fortunately, we were in just in time for her to have the rights to her own body. And the doctor here actually wanted, she saw it, saw the ectopic pregnancy. And this was actually 3 days after we were told it was just a miscarriage, by the way. And she saw the ectopic pregnancy and said, we're going to have to operate. My wife's never had an operation before. So she said, we're going to have to go in there. There's a chance that we'll be able to remove the cells and it not damage your fallopian tube. But the chances are you will lose the fallopian tube, which then reduces the chances in the future of you being able to conceive, because, I mean, it's a 25% reduction in chance of getting pregnant again. Which, I mean, it doesn't really sound like a lot, but that is a lot.
No, it definitely is.
Yeah. And so a friend of ours actually worked for this doctor who suggested going in for surgery. She's is it OBGYN? Yeah, something like that.
I don't know what that means. I just know
no, I don't either, because I'm British and we don't have that language in the UK. But she said, our friend said, ask these questions. My wife at the time's like, she's upset. She can barely talk because she's worried about having to go for an operation. She's just found out. We've been sitting there for an hour and the doctor said, you need to go now. This has to happen now. And luckily our friend said, ask these two questions. How big is the clump? And is there any cardiac activity? Important things. And so I just asked the doctor in passing. She'd gone out into her office and we were walking out to go and discuss what we were going to do. And I said, so how big was it? And she's like, oh, it's less than 20 millimeters. And was there any cardiac activity? No. Flat, no. So we go and sit in the car and discuss what's going on. I text our friend and say, what, this is the information from the doctor. And she said, you don't need to have an operation. You're early enough that you can treat it with, is it methotrexate or something like that? MXT. It's a drug that they use for treating cancer. Apparently, it stops cells growing, and so you get 2 injections into your butt cheeks and feel like crap for days. So we went back in. We jumped over somebody else's appointment that they had and said, we need to talk to you now. And we said, we actually want to try this route because there's a better chance that we don't lose the fallopian tube. There's a better chance that we can conceive again in the future. It doesn't there's still a chance of ectopic pregnancy, but it's a lower chance if we go with this route rather than this route. And the doctor said, well, I didn't offer that to you initially because we weren't quite sure if it was too big or if there was a heartbeat. We couldn't really tell. Only 10 minutes previous, she'd flat out said there was no heartbeat. We later discovered that she'd said all this because she wanted to perform the operation, because in this country, you get more money for performing an operation rather than treating with drugs.
That is so fucked up.
Yes, it is.
Oh my god, that is actually disgusting.
Yes, it absolutely is. Not full informed consent. So it was absolutely horrific.
But just first of all, like I said this before, but I'm so sorry that you guys had to go through that, especially your lovely wife, who I'm sure it's been horrible for. But just to think that, you know, you guys are going through this like tremendously painful emotional experience, and then you have to like argue with doctors, you have to possibly travel to another state. If it becomes illegal, you know, in the United States, you have to travel countries. It only affects it affects the poor more than anyone, people who can't travel. Like, it's just,
she could have died if we didn't get it treated. She would have died.
there's nothing about that is pro-life. Nothing.
No.
Like,
No.
it's just disgusting. And like, I'm sure you know, you're from the UK. They have a different medical system. I'm from Australia. Like, it never cost me anything to do anything, really. Oh, actually, no. I do go to a doctor that does it. It costs me like the equivalent of like $50 out of pocket, and then I get money back like, straight away. But you know, I get like $40 back or something, or $40 back. So but that's because I go to a special. There's other doctors I could have go to, but I just go to the one closest to me. But like, it's just, you know, it's just bizarre to me that you know, that the United States like handles things this way. Like, and you know, you'd experience it more than anything living there. I had a friend who recently moved to Alabama, and they said it costs money to get an ambulance.
And I was like,
it does. What? Like,
if you can get to a hospital yourself, you're much better off doing that. It costs $10,000 to have a baby in this country, in this state. Sorry, I think that varies state to state. But when we get pregnant, or if we get pregnant and we have a child, it's going to cost us about $10,000 to have that child in medical fees. Just to have a baby.
Yeah, that's just so rough. I think it's very rough. Like, we were complaining because my wife and I have just gone through IVF, as I mentioned,
which is expensive in itself, right?
That is, we had to get private health insurance, which gives you extra benefits, so like cosmetic surgeries or whatever, or dental, things like that, and also has IVF stuff, but you have to be on it for like a year on it, and that was like $43 a week, so that's like the equivalent of $25 US. And then no, a week, a month, or no, it might have been a week, but it was a lot. And then it was $9,000 when we got to 9,000, which would be about $6,500, and we were complaining about that. And that's with IVF. But if you don't need IVF and you're about to have a baby, I mean, I think it costs you. I can't imagine it costs anything, but you go to the birth classes at the hospital. They tell you everything to do. You get your own room with your own spa bath, with your own shower, with your own bed, like big room. You can turn the lights down. You can put your music on. You can bring fairy lights, I've heard, and just make the place like really cool. You can tell the midwives like, hey, we don't want to see you. Like, come back in an hour. They go, yep, okay. Like, everyone's just there to assist you in your time to give birth. So and it's free, all free. It's just crazy to me that even third world countries would have to go through the system that you guys have just had to go through. So
and there are so many people in this country. There are is it 300 million or something? Is that right?
Yeah,
that sounds about right. If each of those people paid, and I'm trying to work out what it was in the UK. I think it was like £75 a quarter was what you paid for healthcare in national insurance. I don't know how you do it over there. But so £75 is what, $100 ish. And actually, then it was. Now it's more like $75 because it's almost 1 for 1. But $75 4 times a year. 4 times a year. What's that? $300 a year. If everybody paid in this country $300 a year into a healthcare system, that's a shit ton of money that they could be using to pay for everyone to have free healthcare. That's not a lot of money.
Then you don't have doctors who get paid extra money for doing surgeries. And
yes, exactly. You just have people who turn up, do their job, go home, get paid. And I don't understand why they haven't implemented that kind of system. Is it fairly similar in Australia?
I don't know where. I think it just comes. I don't know where. I have no idea where the money comes from.
Oh, okay.
We pay taxes.
Yeah, sure.
And it comes out. But like, it's you don't pay any tax at all if you're under a certain. If you earn under a certain amount of money, and then it goes up. But I mean,
you're helping the people who can't afford it.
Yeah, exactly. Australia has problems. Like, it's not amazing in
Sure.
everything, but yeah, it just seems strange to me that most of the world is well. I don't think it's strange. It's either the Illuminati. No, I'm kidding. It's
You search Illuminati backwards, it'll take you to the CIA.
yeah, no, it's probably got to do with more just that how it was originally set up and the people who got the funds to back political pundits.
Right.
They put the fund. They got so much money, the big pharma money, so they just they probably just keep the motion running. The same with the NRA, I imagine.
Right.
The NRA has so much money behind it, they can influence politicians and keep little kids being murdered in schools. So it's just yeah. Anyway, this has gotten real dark, but
but it's important to talk about. So
it is important to talk about, and I hope one day the United States comes to their senses and it gets better.
I think they will. I think they will at some point. And we're moving further and further away from. We're not. It's taking a long time, but they are moving away from religious belief here more and more, and it's only a matter of time before non-religious people are in power, and then that will open things up a lot, and it'll be fast at that point. But it's important to vote in those that aren't affiliated with any
I think Genetically Modified Skeptic did a video where I think it was 2060 is when Christianity would be a minority under the current trends.
Wow,
which is big because Christianity is hot, really high at the moment. I think, but you have to go watch the video. But I have some questions for you. And the first question is a serious question. Favorite musicals?
Oh, now listen, I'm a musical performer. So I've been in a ton of musicals. Picking a favorite, I love Jekyll and Hyde the musical. I performed as Jekyll and Hyde in the musical.
Oh, okay.
That's probably one of my favorites. Do you know Priscilla, Queen of the Desert?
No,
it's actually set in Australia, David. So you should probably do your research.
Well, you see, I never liked musicals at all. My wife's only recently got me into them. I'm starting to like them. I've seen Wicked a few times. I've seen The Book of Mormon. I've seen.
I love that. That's up there with one of my favorites. I've seen
Moulin
it twice.
Rouge is my favorite.
Moulin Rouge, good. I've seen Avenue Q twice. That's a funny one.
Yeah.
It's like Sesame Street, but for adults. It's hilarious.
Yeah, okay.
But so Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, is about 3 Australian drag queens who just do a tour of Australia to go and visit the lead drag queen's son, who was like, surprise, I actually experimented in college and I've got a kid, so we're going to go and see the kid. I played that drag queen.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
I was the lead drag queen in that show. Love that show. Sunset Boulevard, I've played Joe Gillis in that. I love that show. Danny in Greece, hello. Oklahoma, Curly, I've done that too. Seymour and Little Shop of Horrors. I've done loads.
You see, I'm kind of like nodding and smiling. I only just know some of these names. My wife's going to hit me because she'll be like, "Oh my god!" Like she'll be blown away. Yeah, she loves it a lot.
I'm directing Little Shop of Horrors early next year. In my local town I've been in the show twice as Seymour both times. So yeah, I'm directing the show, which I can't wait for. So
how exciting! Oh, wow, that's
there you
cool.
Go. That was a long answer for such a short question.
So well, let me give you some musicals, and you just tell me what they are out of 100, right?
Okay,
like 100 is best.
Okay.
Wicked.
Now, if you'd said Adina Menzel as Elphaba, 95, and I saw Adina in the show in the West End in London. I've since seen the show 4 more times, and each time it got worse. So now, like the last time I saw it, maybe like 70.
Okay. Do you know who Gemma Rix is?
No.
Oh, okay. She's like my wife's favorite.
Idol.
She's
right.
Yeah. And Lucy Durack. Do you know who that is?
I don't know Lucy Durack.
No. Okay. It must be Australian.
Yeah. Maybe.
Both huge. Legally Blonde.
Oh, sure. Legally Blonde.
Yeah. Where would you put that?
I like Legally Blonde. Let's say 80.
Okay. Yeah. Book of Mormon.
100.
Okay.
I love Book of Mormon, and I know every single word to every single song in Book of Mormon. I love it.
Jesus hates you. This we know. Yeah, it's so good. Moulin Rouge.
if you're talking about the movie.
Nah, movie sucked. I hated the movie.
Okay.
Talking about the stage performance.
I'll give it like a 60. It's not my favorite, but it's okay.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
Cats.
I saw Nicole Scherzinger as that. I can't remember the lead cat's name, but I've seen it on the West End. It's okay. It's annoying in places. 60. Let's give it a 60.
Okay. I'm trying to think of any else that I've seen. Lion King.
Oh, that's great. 75.
Okay. I had the biggest panic attack in Lion King. I was like sitting there and and I was just like, oh, you're having a good time. And then as soon as the music started, for some reason, I was like panicking. And on the outside, I'm just like this. But on the inside, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, like panicking. And then because I think I knew the story so well that I was like panicking for the stage, the audience.
Sure.
And I was like, oh no, what if Simba falls off the thing? Like, I was freaking out. And I was like, oh no, there's elephants walking around.
Did you sit in the stalls for that one? Because you get all the experience of the animals passing through the auditorium.
I could see them, but I wasn't next to them. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, it was that was good. Besides me having to leave and then the lady I left, came back. But yeah, and ladies like, you can go to the ladies' room if you want, the pregnancy room. And I was like, no, it's fine. But anyway.
No.
Yeah, it was bad. I had bad anxiety, like I said. Okay, so I hope that satisfies my wife's questions. But someone asked, normalizing atheism, and thanks for checking out the stream. It's great to see you.
All right, there, Mike. Question for John. Where in Wales are you from? An answer in rap. That sounds like a Pastor Mike thing to say. Do you know Mike?
Pastor Mike?
Yeah. You know him, right?
Hang on, let me just look, because there's a few pastors online.
As in Pasta, pasta. Pasta Mike. Anyway, where in Wales am I from? I'm from the capital of Wales, England, because England owns Wales, and I can't rap. I had a rapping injury in my mid-20s, and my doctor said, if you rap again, you'll explode. So I can't.
Yeah. I had the same thing. And I just seen Nuria. I just went on to Twitter to see Pastor Mike, see if I was following. I couldn't find the account, but I'm sure I recognize the name. But
he owns Normalizing Atheism on Facebook.
Yeah, I know.
Nearly 70,000. Yeah. He's great.
That's why I said great to see.
Yeah.
But Nuria Khan, I don't know if you're here, Nuria, but she just shared the stream, she is a legend. And she is Nuria Khan is Holy Humanist, who the episode where she left Islam, and so she can't go to 9. She can't go to 9 countries in the world. She'll be put to death for being an apostate. Yeah, so it's real time that's crazy stuff. But anyway, so this is a question I ask everyone, and in your case, it'll be regarding the paranormal.
Okay,
what if anything would change your mind?
If a ghost or spirit appeared to me, allowed itself to be filmed, I could take video of it and then pass that video to people to verify. But also, the spirit would have to come with me and go, yes, that's me, to the people verifying it.
Okay, that's good. That's a very succinct answer.
I think that's the only way, right?
Yeah. And this is second last question. Okay. What is the most plausibly true religion that you don't believe in?
Buddhism.
A lot of people say Buddhism. I think I'd say Buddhism as well.
Yeah, because there's no real anger in that religion. So let's just
Yeah. They have a fun hell too. So there's a sect of Buddhism that believes in hell, and you go there, you burn off your karma. I'm like, okay, well, at least there's an end goal. It's not just like
right.
You burn off your karma, then you come back. And the last question, and then we'll wrap this up, is if you could choose an afterlife and it would immediately become true, which afterlife would you choose?
I mean, it would be the afterlife jungle where Lisa the rainbow giraffe, leave be upon her, to oversees everything and teaches you how to surf on a surf machine.
Wait, so what is that? Is that a real thing, or did you just make that up?
I mean, it's real for me. So I've got my own deity who appears on my channel every now and then. Actually, every video. I give some new lore to Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, who is like, you can take any religious belief and change God to Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leaf be upon her, and it still works. That's just pointing out how ludicrous all this stuff is by just changing the name. So in a video a long time ago, I said that like the only afterlife that matters is the one that Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe oversees, and it's the afterlife jungle. And because she's a giraffe, so it's going to be a jungle. So there you go.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
And so the leaf be upon her as well. I was doing something on a Muslim apologist. Every time he said the word Muhammad, he said, peace be upon him. And I was like, there's something here. So I was like, that's it. I'm saying leaf be upon her every time I say Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe from now on, leaf be upon her. So
that's so good. That's so good. So everyone, Normalizing Atheism said, listening to you guys or drink my morning coffee kept me entertained. Love. John, great podcast, David. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who's subscribing. Just a reminder that when we do get to 1,000 subscribers, we're doing a charity stream. And tomorrow night, well, at the same time tomorrow, wherever you are in the world, I'll be interviewing Anastasia. Oh my gosh, I've forgotten her name. Like, I don't know. Anastasia, who is a Ukrainian volunteer who's living there. And we're going to be talking to her. She's literally like hiding right now, and I'll be talking to her. But she said, no, we're in Ukraine, we drink alcohol. So she's actually got alcohol. So I'm like, wow, all right, that's what we're going to do. But yeah, so tomorrow that's going to be a live stream. That'll be really good, and we're going to be talking about it and raising money for her and her volunteer work. But besides that, make sure you go over to the SkepTick, links in the description, and make sure you subscribe over there, because John is putting out some just amazing content. You have to go check it out.
I'm really excited for this week's one as well. I've got
any sneak peeks?
So someone very well known in the religious community is talking about rocks and how we evolved from them. It's I'm having fun with this one.
I need to ask you before we go. I've got one last question. You said on your you need to give me the lore behind this. So on your channel, you said Kent Hovind couldn't read this description. What's that about?
So I have finally been whacked on Whack an Atheist.
You got whacked off by Kent Hovind?
I got whacked off by Kent Hovind. Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
Part of the video was him reading my description, and he just butchers it. He can't do it at all. It's hilarious. But I was like, well, Kent Hovind was here, so
that's so good. That's
good. All that is. Yeah.
There's nothing I love more than laughing at Kent Hovind. So yeah.
I was doing a video on when he whacked Forrest Valkai. So I did a reaction video to that, and then Kent did a reaction video to me doing a reaction video to him doing a reaction video to Forrest Valkai. It was hilarious. How long will this go on?
Oh, it's amazing. I loved the thing he did with Aaron Ra, where he couldn't even understand like the form. Like he was just, it's amazing. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, John. The SkepTick. Make sure you check out the SkepTICKS channel. It's amazing, and thank you so much for coming on. It's been awesome. I noticed you didn't touch your Peroni, so
I did whilst you were doing that, but I've got the lid on still. But I'm drinking it. It's too early.
I've drunk two, so that's
well done.
That's
you drank mine for me.
Yeah, so I did yours for you. But thank you so much for coming on. And make sure you go check out your channel, obviously. And thanks everyone for watching. And I'll see everyone later.